building Young India.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. A.R. Vijay Babu, working as an assistant professor in Department of EEE, Vignan's Foundation for Science, Technology and Research, deemed to be University. So far we have gone through unit number 1 and unit number 2 of EACM, Energy Audit, Conservation and Management. In unit number 1, we have gone through the basic principles of energy management. In that, we have seen what is an energy audit and what is the procedure of conducting an energy audit in an industry. Then we have gone through the Sankey diagrams, and then we have also seen the energy conservation and different energy conservation opportunities for all the energy guzzlers in our home, and we have also solved a problem on energy conservation. And then we moved on to the unit number 2, that is cogeneration, trigeneration and waste heat recovery. In this particular unit, we have gone through cogeneration, what are the different types of cogeneration, what are the different cogeneration technologies. Then we have seen trigeneration. So in trigeneration, we have gone through an important concept called working principle of an absorption chiller. And then we have discussed waste heat recovery technologies like regenerator, recuperator, heat pipe, heat pump, etc. Thermophotovoltaic systems, etc. as potential waste heat recovery technologies. Now let's move on to our third unit, that is energy efficient lighting. So the syllabus of the unit number 3, that is the energy efficient lighting, is as follows. So in this we are going to study what are the preliminary basics of lighting systems. Then we'll go through what is color rendering index, what is color temperature. Then we'll go through different types of lighting and different kinds of lights or lamps, etc. in this particular unit. Now coming to the learning objectives of this unit, we are going to learn why energy efficiency in lighting is required. Why energy efficiency in lighting is required. Then we'll see what are the terminology in lighting. Like we are going to see what is efficacy, what is color rendering index and what is color temperature. Then we'll go through the different types of lamps. Say for example, and we are going to see incandescent lamp, fluorescent lamp, compact fluorescent lamp, sodium vapor lamp, mercury vapor lamp, LEDs and organic LEDs. Then we're going to see what are the different types of lighting: ascent lighting, task lighting, ambient lighting. Then we'll see what is a flood lighting. And finally we'll end up our session with a brief introduction to polar curves and calculation of illumination levels. So now, why study light? So light is an extremely efficient way of altering perception. Light improves weight gain in premature infants. Now we'll see, whenever a baby is born, sometimes we used to keep him under the light to improve his immunity. So as well as the body weight. So the body weight and immunity of a child can be improved in lighting. So a proper light will improve the length and quality of the sleep. Some researchers believe that even very low levels of blue light while sleeping might reduce the immunity levels in the humans and create a very serious negative implications for health. So we should have some blue light while we are sleeping falling on us. Bad light can ruin a perfectly good design. Light can alleviate seasonal depressions. So all these are the different reasons behind why we need to study light. So consumption of light in India. 1/5 of the electricity consumption in India is through lighting, right? 1/5 of the consumption in India is through lighting. You mind this. Lighting contributes significantly to peak load. A large portion of the total lighting is used in inefficient technologies in India. So we are not using the proper technologies for utilizing the services of lighting in India. Over 400 million light points in India today are lighted by incandescent bulbs. The requirement by compact fluorescent lights would lead to, and the replacement by CFLs or compact fluorescent lamps would reduce the energy consumption by over 10,000 megawatts in electricity demand. So government has introduced a scheme called Bhajet Lamp Yojana. So under this scheme, the CFL was given for only 15 rupees to us, and the remaining amount will be claimed through a program called CDM, which means Cleaner Development mechanism. It's a global initiative which come forth because of the Kyoto Protocol. The actual cost of CFL is, say for example, it may be around 200 rupees. But we are encouraged to use the CFLs in the country by providing free CFL lamps to us. By paying just 15 rupees, we can take the CFL lamp and use it in our home. And thereby we can replace the inefficient technologies in lighting with the efficient CFL technologies. So the same thing nowadays is followed by LEDs. People are giving LEDs for free to us. The government is giving LED for free to us if we submit the incandescent lamp back to the government. So that it is encouraging us to move towards the energy efficient technology so that our power consumption or the energy consumption will be minimized. So why energy efficiency in lighting is required? High and rising energy prices is one of the reasons why we require energy efficiency in lighting. And the second reason might be the change in global climate. So evaluation of exhaustion of non-renewable energy resources for electricity generation is one more factor that is motivating us to move towards the energy efficient lighting systems. And finally, and this leads to the reduction of investment for expansion of electrical power sector. And that is the reason why we need to look towards the energy efficient lighting systems. Let's talk about changing scenario of lamps. In 1800s, as you can observe here, we have used the candles and slowly we progressed towards incandescent light bulbs and slowly we moved towards the CFLs in 2003 and simply we have changed it towards the LEDs in 2008. And what about our fate in 2050? It's in our hands. If you adopt the LEDs or the other high energy efficient technologies, we'll continue with the LEDs. Or otherwise, because of this global warming situations, we'll again move back to the candles in 2050. Who knows? So it's in our hand to decide whether to use LEDs or candles in 2050. It solely depends upon us. It is in our hands. So let's discuss the physics of light. Light is a member of large family called electromagnetic radiation. In short, EMR. Heat, light, X-rays, microwaves, UV are all the examples of electromagnetic radiation. Electromagnetic radiation travels with speed of light and has a wide spectrum of wavelengths. The visible spectrum includes radiations from 380 nanometers to 750 nanometers. The visible light consists of VIBGYOR, which means violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange and red colors. As you can see here, the visible light will be ranging between 380 nanometers and 750 nanometers. In between that we have a visible wavelength, right? VIBGYOR. As we have seen in the last slide, VIBGYOR. We can see in this particular wavelength range in between 380 nanometers and 750 nanometers. And you can see the spectrum of electromagnetic radiation, that is light. This light is nothing but a visible light, and this visible light will be in between 380 nanometers to 750 nanometers. And in between that you can see VIBGYOR, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange and red colors in light. Now let's see the basic terminology in lighting. There are three different terminologies that we need to understand here. You can see it here. So when light source emits the radiation or the light, it was fallen onto the surface, and this one, the light which is falling onto the surface is called illuminance. It's called what? Illuminance, right? And the light which is reflected from the surface and reaches the viewer's eyes is nothing but a luminance or excitance. The light which is falling onto the object is called the illuminance, and the light which is reflected off a surface is called a luminance or excitance. There is one more terminology left. The light source emits lumens, and some of them will be reflected and some of them will be fall onto the surface. It is called illuminance, and of that illuminance, some of them will be reflected back into the viewer's eyes. and that is known as the luminance or excitance. And the third one is, apart from being falling onto a surface, some of the lumens will also travel off a light source, and those lumens are called again lumens or excitants. So there are altogether three types of terminologies in two different categories. The terminology one means the lumens falling onto a surface is called illuminance, and second one is the lumens which are reflected from a surface, as well as the lumens which are of a light source. These two terminologies are called luminance or excitants. Is that clear? So there are three different terminologies. The first one is illuminant. There are three interactions of light. The first one is illuminance, that is the lumens onto a surface, and second and third ones are lumens or excitants, which is the reflected light onto the viewer's eyes or the light traveled off a light source, and these two are called lumens. Now let's see what is a luminous flux. So what is a luminous flux? A luminous flux is a measure of brightness of a light source in terms of energy being emitted. Luminous flux in SI units is measured in the lumens, Ln. So lumen is a measurement of energy released in the form of visible light from a light producing source. More lumens means more brightness or more bright light. Fewer lumens means it is a dim light. It is a dimmer light. As you can see in the picture over here, lumens are nothing but the light output. If the light bulb is 25 watt, we can get a lumens of around 200 to 250 lumens. If the light bulb is 60 watt, we'll get 450 to 500 lumens. If the light bulb is 80 watt, we'll get 600 to 800 lumens. So more lumens means more brightness. More lumens means more brightness. You can observe here, a 25 watt bulb will produce only 250 lumens. So the brightness is less when compared to a light source having a lumen output of 450 to 500 lumens. And we have one more light bulb which is far more brighter than that of the remaining two, which is emitting 500 to 800 lumens. So more lumens means more brightness, less lumens means fewer brightness or dimmer light. Now let us see the difference between luminous flux and luminous intensity. So what is a luminous flux? The luminous flux is nothing but the total amount of lumens emitted by the light source in all the directions in 360 degrees view is called a luminous flux. And what is luminous intensity? The luminous intensity is the lumens measured in a particular angle which are falling on a surface. So the luminous intensity is the lumens which are falling on a surface in a particular direction in some particular angle called solid angle. So the lumens per solid angle is known as a light intensity. The units of luminous flux are lumens, whereas the units of luminous intensity are candela. Lumens per solid angle is called candela. And what is the difference between illuminance and luminance, which we have already seen in the three interactions of light, and again we'll see it as a difference. So what is illuminance? If you illuminate an object and measure the amount of light projected onto the object, it is nothing but illuminance. And what is luminance? A luminance is the amount of light that get reflected from a surface being illuminated. So the radiation which is or the light which is falling onto a surface is called illuminance, and the light which is reflected off a surface is called a luminance or excitant. So what is the difference between illumination, illuminance and luminance? If you illuminate an object and measure the amount of light being projected onto it, then it is called illuminance. And what is luminance? A luminance is the light which is reflected from the surface being illuminated. So as we can see, when light is falling onto a surface, you call it as illuminance. And when the light is reflected from the surface, then you call that light as luminance. And the unit of illumination is lumen per meter square, whereas the unit of luminance is candela per meter square. So what is the unit of luminous flux? Lumens. And what is the unit of illuminance? Lumens per meter square. What is the unit of luminous intensity? Candela. And what is the unit of luminance? Candela per meter square. And lumen per meter square is otherwise called as lux. So 1 lux is equal to 1 lumen per meter square. Now let's see an important concept called efficacy. So what is efficacy? An efficacy will determine how well a source provides a visible light for a given amount of power. So generally, a luminous efficacy of a source, LES, that is the luminous efficacy of a source, LES, is the ratio of lumens per unit input power. So the luminous efficiency of a source, LES, is the ratio of lumens per unit input power. It is the lumens per watt. So generally, if I have a light, if I give the electricity through it, it will get the lumens. So what is the efficacy? The efficacy is nothing but the output lumens by input electricity. Now you can see it here. So in the top example, you can see there is a light bulb whose power input is 60 watt and the lumens which is produced by it is 700 lumens. So what is the efficacy of this light bulb? 700 by 60. So which comes out around to be 11 lumens per watt. And the example number 2, there is one more light bulb which is producing 720 lumens output when the power input is 50 watt. So what is the efficacy of this light bulb? 720 by 50. So which comes out to be 14 lumens per watt. And in the third case, you have a light bulb which is producing 800 lumens from a power input of 9 watts. So what is the efficacy of this light bulb? 800 by 9. So which comes out to be 89 lumens per watt. And you can see the bottom example, there is one more light which is producing 740 lumens of light for an input of 9 watts. So what is the efficacy of this? 740 by 9, which comes out to be 93 lumens per watt. So the efficacy is nothing but the lumens per watt. That is lumens per unit input power. Now let's see one more topic called reflection and absorption in light. So what is reflection and what is absorption? So you take an apple, as you can see in the figure, you take an apple and make the VIBGYOR fall on it. So this VIBGYOR consists of 7 different colors ranging from violet to red. And when all these colors falls onto the apple, this apple will absorb all the colors except red. And the red light, it will reflect it. So because it is reflecting red light, that is why the apple looks red in color. You take an example of a leaf which is attached to the apple. That leaf, when VIBGYOR or visible light falls on it, absorb all the light colors except green, and green is reflected by the leaves by a pigment called chlorophyll in the leaves, and that is the reason why leaves appear green in color. Now let's take an example to understand this. Now I have an apple and on it there is a green leaves attached to the apple. When white light fall on this apple, what happens? The apple looks red in color because the apple will absorb all the remaining colors and it will reflect only red color, and that's why the apple looks red in color. And the green leaves absorbs all the remaining colors except green, but green it will reflect, and that is the reason why the apple looks red in color and the leaves look green in color. Now instead of a VIBGYOR or a white light, let's now pass the red light onto this apple and leaf combination. Now what happens? Since it is a red light and the apple will not absorb the red light, so the apple can only reflect the red light. The apple looks red in color. But the leaves are not capable of reflecting the red color because leaves can absorb the red color, and that is why leaves cannot reflect green color. And that is the reason the leaves will appear black in color. Now let's pass the green light onto this apple. Now when green light is passed onto this apple, now what happens? This apple cannot reflect the green light. It will only absorb it, and that's why apple looks black in color. But green leaves, which has the capability of reflecting the green light, will reflect the green light and appears green. Now let's take a typical example. Now this combination consists of 2 colors, red and green. Now let's pass some other color, that is blue. Now if I pass the blue color onto the apple, now what happens? This blue color is absorbed both by apple and leaf. But this blue color cannot be reflected by both apple and leaf, and that's why both apple and leaf appears black in color under the blue light or any other type of light. So that is the reason why whenever an object reflects a particular light, it appears in that color. If it reflects green color, it appears to be green. If it reflects red color, it appears to be red. If it reflects violet color, it appears to be violet. If it reflects brown color, it appears to be brown, etc. So now let's go through an important topic called color temperature. So what is a color temperature? The color temperature of a light source is the value of the absolute temperature of a black body radiator when the radiator chromaticity matches with that of a light source. What do you mean by that? Let's see the example in the figure over here. I have taken a black body, and when I heated it to 900 Kelvin in the first figure, it turns to be red. Now when I increase the temperature to 750 Kelvin, now the black body turns into yellowish dark red. Now when I further increase the temperature to more than 3000 Kelvin, it changed its color to yellowish white. Now if I further increased its temperature to 500 Kelvin, now the color changed to bluish white. Right, so what is the color temperature in this? Okay, so in layman terms, what is the color temperature? So different light sources produces different colored light. Say for example, a candle will produce a reddish light, whereas a midday sun will appear in the form of a blue tint. So all these different colors should have to be expressed by some numbers, and that number is known as a color temperature. Did you understand it? So for each and every color there will be a number, and that number is called color temperature. So higher color temperatures means 5000 Kelvin or more, they are termed as cool colors, and the colors will be in between blue and green. And lower color temperatures means they will be in between 2700 Kelvin to 3000 Kelvin, and we call them as warm colors, and the colors will be in between yellow and red. As you can see in the figure over here, at 2700 to 3000 Kelvin, we can observe a light with low color temperature, and that light is a white light, of course, but it's a warm light. It appears a slight yellowish in color. And when you increase the color temperature to around 4100 Kelvin, then you can observe a normal white light. If you increase the color temperature further, you can see, if you increase the color temperature to more than 5000 Kelvin, then you can see a light called a cool light, and this cool light will be used for reading and for other activities. So as the color temperature increases, you can see different kinds of light, and all these different kinds of light will have a number, and that number is called color temperature. Now let us see one more important topic in lighting called color rendering index, CRI. So what is a CRI means? The color rendering index is a qualitative measure of the ability of the light source to reveal the colors of various objects faithfully in comparison with the ideal or natural light source. A color rendering index is a qualitative measure for the ability of a light source to reproduce the colors of various objects in comparison with the ideal or natural light source. So for example, you can see an apple, its original color when CRI is 100 at a color temperature of 2700 Kelvin is, you can see the color of an apple in the first figure. Now that is a natural color. When normal daylight or white light falls on it, the apple looks in that color. Now I have kept the apple under the light source. So initially, when I keep an apple under the sun or a natural daylight, I can see the color as it in the first figure. In that case, the color rendering index is 100. That is, it is faithfully reproducing the actual color of the apple. Now, when I take the same apple and kept it under some light, a light source, so whose color rendering index is 90, then the actual color of the apple will not be reproduced in this particular lighting. I'll take an apple and I'll keep it under the sun or a natural daylight, and I will take a photograph of it, and that photograph will appear as it is in the first apple, right? Now that photograph will reproduce the actual color of a apple, and when any light source will reproduce the actual color of any object, it is nothing but a CRI of 100, that is faithful reproduction of a actual color of object. Now I take a same apple and kept it under a light source which is having a CRI of 90. Then I clicked a photograph of it, and that photograph is the second apple. Now you can see the difference between first apple and second apple. You can clearly see that the original color is not reproduced. Now if I take the same apple and kept it under a light source which is having a CRI of 80 now, and I take a photograph of it, and that apple is the apple number 3. The color reproduction is further reduced. Now I take the same apple and kept it under a light source which is having a CRI of 70, and then I clicked a photograph, and that one is a fourth apple. Now you can see the faithful reproduction is further reduced. So as the color rendering index decreases, the actual color will not be reproduced by the object.